time. Makes us go. All right, everybody. Welcome to another exciting episode of Under the Dome. I'm your host, Alan Orick, with my partner, Sean Williams, and a special guest tonight, Mr. John Butler out of New York. He of Life of a Saint fame. We'll introduce him more in just a minute, but first, I wanted to throw it to Sean so he can pay the bills.
Thank you guys for joining us as always on Tuesday night. I want to wish a belated happy birthday to one of our originals, Miss Anna. I'm sorry I didn't do it last week, but I'm better late than never. And on a personal note, real quick, I wanted to say that a guy that I played ball with many years ago in Oklahoma is in a really, really bad way. Not sure how this is going to exactly play out. His name is Lonnie Harris, and all my friends in Oklahoma just wanted y'all to know that my thoughts and prayers are with y'all and with Lonnie right now, hoping for the best and praying that that God takes care of this. Thank you guys for joining us on Under the Dome, as we're here every Tuesday night. We'd love to be here with you guys. You can follow us on Facebook at the Under the Dome podcast page. You can follow us on Twitter I always go to the wrong side. Anyway, our Twitter handles are under our magnificent, majestic faces there. Hey, I said that with a straight face. Can you believe that?
I'm telling you, I'm impressed.
And our very special guest tonight. We try to link up with this guy when we can. I can't say enough about just how fantastic a writer this guy is. He, as Alan alluded to earlier, he is the man that created the Life of a Saint series. And if you've never read any of them, you owe it to yourself, if you're a Saints fan, to go and check that out. That's some of the most magnificent work and in depth. I mean, anybody can pick up a newspaper and see a stat sheets and see what the player is in that respect. But the way that this man approaches the stories that he tells is more of a behind that. More of a personal touch to it. And we want to thank him for making the time to join us tonight, Mr. John Butler.
If you want to keep going, you can keep going.
No, well, I was going to say, John, you got the highest compliment of all with the Will Smith article that Nick Underhill complimented you on. And Nick is the man right now when it comes to Saints news. That Will Smith article really got a lot of people. So that
surprised me for sure.
Yeah, that was.
I wanted to. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, go ahead.
I wanted to ask you, John. Well, I'm not going to say exactly, but just a rough idea. How long? I know from knowing you personally, I've got an idea, but exactly how much time did you spend working that article up?
I mean, I don't know about the hours, but piecing it together was probably about 6 weeks, and it was more playing phone tag with certain people or sending out the messages and seeing who got back to me. And then once it got to the point where I had enough that I felt comfortable putting it out together and would give you a pretty round idea of what Will was like kind of off the field to some of the guys he played with or some of the guys that coached him or whatever, then that's when I decided to shoot it out. I did have a couple of people reach out after the fact, but it had already gone into the editors by the time they reached out. But yeah, I think we had 12 or 13 different people. I mean, and there were a couple of surprises. I mean, like, some of the Saints guys, you once you have relationships with a couple of the Saints guys, it's like that fraternity that you can use that borrowed trust to get from A to B to C and find your way to certain people. But guys like Jim Tressel or even Raquel Smith, I mean, it was a total surprise to hear from. And it was a pleasant surprise because they added things that obviously some of the other people just couldn't add.
Go ahead, Alan.
I was going to say absolutely. The thing about it was most of the times when you get, and this is going to be a lot of butt kissing, but so be it. But most of the stories that you get from fans who write Saints stories basically are a combination of a condensation of stories that we've read elsewhere before, but just kind of gather together, or just very, I don't know, subjective kind of stories. This is what Will Smith meant to me, for example.
Yeah.
What we got out of your story was something that, that you used to get from a lot of the great writers of the past that I grew up reading, like a Pete Finney or a Dave Lagarde, Bob Rosler, one of those kind of reporters who really went behind the scenes of a player, that you got to know him off the field as well as on the field, and you heard stories you didn't normally hear. And that's what I got the most out of the Will Smith article, was that I understood who this man was more so than just the guy who happened to wear number 91 for the Saints. And, I give you a lot of credit for that, because that's a hard thing to do. It's easy to kind of say, okay, I've got a narrative I'm going to write about, and a player's career is easy to write about because you start with when he came in the league and you end it with whenever he left the league or his highest achievement. And what you had to do was just kind of basically encapsulate not only his playing career, but his personal life into the story, synthesize the story. And now that's what I really, really enjoyed about your work.
I really appreciate what both of you guys are saying. And to the people that didn't get to see it, if I could share one quick story, it would definitely be the one that kind of still, the one that still sticks with me from that article specifically was Raquel Smith. Mm-hmm. When she was talking about like that, one of the things that her and the kids really liked is whenever Will Smith used to get on the grill. He always liked to grill for the kids. So the story that she told me toward the end of the conversation was she came home after a couple of days after everything that happened with Will, and when Will died and she got out of the hospital, she came home and there was still like a rack of ribs on the counter that she never put away that night, that they intended to come back home, grill, I guess they were thawing them out. Mm-hmm. It just painted such a picture of, tying that horrific event into like their regular day-to-day lives. It was kind of,
exactly.
It was tough to hear, but I definitely appreciate, like, that's like being up in Jersey. I don't hear a lot of the, a lot of the reports, and I don't have access to a lot of the things that you guys might have access to, but just hearing some of that stuff just really it's another level of understanding what life was like down there for them.
Exactly, because for her the grill was part of who he was, and then you come home and that's the first thing you see. This is what he would be doing. Had right. Things ended differently, this is what he'd be doing tonight. And usually what you do, all right, I'm going to take my own experience at ribs. Usually what you do is you take it out and you do a rub, and then you prepare it for grilling.
You got to remove the membrane first.
Yes, you have to remove the membrane. You do the rub, whatever the rub may be, depending on what you want to do with it, how you cook it. My wife's secret recipe, because she actually does some incredible ribs. I'm not going to lie. I won't tell you the whole secret, but it involves Jack Daniels. Not drinking it, you actually use it as part of the rib, as the rub. But yeah, it's incredible. Basically, when you pick up the bones, the meat just falls off of it. Ugh. That's how good the ribs are. Oh yeah, yeah. My cousin's husband, who if I ever die, I would want to come back as him, because this is a man who owns commercial property, so he doesn't really work for a living. Checks just show up at his mailbox. He has a sailboat. He sails to the Bahamas to the Key West. He dives. These videos he sends me of cave diving. And I'm going, oh my God, this man. Yeah, he's living the life. He really is. But he told my cousin, his wife, he says, if you love me, you will learn how to cook ribs this way. So
that's a compliment.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
To think I spent the whole week working on my 70s and 80s TV and music trivia, and we go to recipes. So you're totally you never know what to expect on this show.
I can throw out some 70s and
no. I'm not prepared for that either.
Oh wait, here we go.
You know what I miss the most? Something that we haven't seen in so long is the Wednesday morning post about the 3 things that people learned from watching Under the Dome last night.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
No, that's all right. No,
I had a lot of fun doing that too.
Calvin, CG is Calvin Griffin. Calvin's got a great one. He's making an Eddie Murphy delirious reference here. Ain't no barbecue without a drunk uncle working the grill. If y'all remember Eddie Murphy delirious, get that lighter fluid out of here. Throw the whole gallon of gas on there. Woo, that's a fire. Yeah, that is one of the all-time great routines. So.
Man, I sat here last night for probably 2.5 to 3 hours pulling up clips on YouTube of the old Arsenio Hall show. I mean, the first run, when it was the standard by which late-night talk shows were measured. And I stumbled across the one where he had Eddie Murphy on there promoting Harlem Nights. I almost hyperventilated. I almost peed on myself. It was, and then I went from that to Richard Pryor on Carson and Robin Williams on Carson. And man, like I say, for 2.5 hours, I just sat here and laughed until I nearly cried.
That's great.
All right, so Avery says, is no one going to comment about Alan wanting to come back as his cousin's husband? So I had to write this. At the risk of sounding like I'm from Alabama, my cousin is hot. She's my age, so she's a great person. She really is.
I was trying so hard to just kind of skip over that.
No, that's all right. All right, in all seriousness, Jerry asked a legitimate question to begin this show, and I put it up there, and I'm going to put it up again. Jerry wants to know our thoughts on why the Saints released Nigel Bradham, because he wasn't happy, and I think that was a shock for a lot of people. But Nick Underhill kind of said it best. There was a lot of people ahead of him, and he wasn't getting a lot of practice time. So given the way this training camp is going, because we actually should be getting ready to play the Houston Texans in the Dome this week, sometime between Thursday and Sunday, because that was the range of days, the 27th to the 30th.
Thursday, I think.
Yeah, well, it just depends on the networks. They kind of
usually for the Saints, the third preseason game is on a Thursday night.
Right. So we would technically be into the third week of camp, practice camp. And here we go. We released probably one of the most experienced linebackers that we brought in. So what do you think this says about the linebacker room, that they felt like they could let this guy go?
Go ahead, John. I'll follow you, brother.
Well, I mean, obviously, a couple of things. Number one, I guess it says that the linebacker room is deeper than I even thought it was, as far as like what their expectations are and what they think they can get out of these guys. The other thing I think it says, and I'm just judging by what I've seen on social and what certain people have reported. I think Brian Bieniemy was one of them, that it had something to do with culture and the fact that if he's going to complain about, whether it's playing with third string guys or whatever the situation was, it sounded like culture had a part in that decision as well. So they hold that at a pretty high premium as well. So yeah, to me, it reeks of optimism in my eyes, at least.
Yep.
Yeah. And bouncing off of that, the first thought that entered my mind when I saw the update where they had released him was the fact that this would almost have to speak to the maturation of the kid that they drafted this year.
Bond.
Bond. Judging from this move, they almost would have to feel like he's coming along at a much quicker pace than what they had initially thought he would. And as John said, one thing that Sean Payton will not, after the debacle back when Junior Galette was here, and how he had to Kenny Stills and that whole group that he had to basically eliminate. He's not going to put up with any dissension in the ranks. You have to believe not only in the process, but the people that are in charge of the process, and he's not going to tolerate anything less than that. I haven't really seen anything substantial in terms of him complaining or that, but I mean, if you do this long enough, you start to pick up on how players talk and how to interpret some of the things that they say, and that's been the insinuation on a couple of things that I've seen.
Yeah, my impressions were much like what John was saying and what you're saying. It's culture, it's fit. Probably a lot has to do with the maturation of Bond. Probably they just didn't see anything in him that said, you know what, he's better than what we already have. And I think that's what they're really looking for. They're looking for somebody to stand up, stand out. And we're going to talk about a guy in a minute, Bernie Fowler, the receiver that they signed right around the same time. You needed to see something from him to say, you know what, let's move him up from the third string to the second string. Let's see what it looks like playing next to DeMario Davis. And I don't think they saw that out of him. So, well, go ahead.
I was just going to say on the flip side of everything that I just said, I do have concerns about the move because if there's been anything that we've seen in recent years with the linebacking core that we've had is their susceptibility to injury. And you get to the midway point in the season and you're down 2 starting linebackers, you can't lose with an experienced at the highest level experienced player like Bradham.
Well, it's interesting you bring that up because I was thinking about this. Nick Underhill was on television Sunday night on the local 4th Down on 4, it's called. It's a local sports show that comes on after the Sunday night news. So Underhill was talking about the idea of the Saints stashing players. Around this time of a normal training camp with normal preseason games being played, there would be somebody who stands out in camp. And the Saints would always have that dilemma when it came time to cutting them. Certain players that the Saints did not want to lose would suddenly go down with a mysterious injury, and they get put on IR and stashed away for a year. And because they were put on IR before the season began, they could technically be in the building and, yeah, they're rehabbing, but they could sit in on meetings and they get to see them practice and things like that, as opposed to once the season starts, the way they do IR. And we're not going to see that this year. So I think the Saints are looking at a guy like Bradham and saying, you know what? If we get injuries during the season, chances are he's going to be available, so we can pick him up then. At least that's how I look at it. John, I don't know how you feel about this.
No, that makes sense. And I definitely could reiterate your concerns. I mean, I ran a poll a few weeks back on Twitter, and it was something along the lines of with the lack of normal preseason, do you anticipate that some of the guys that were hurt last year, do you anticipate this will help them or hurt? Are you more or less concerned? I was actually kind of surprised by the optimism by a lot of Saints fans because I don't know. I'm definitely concerned that some of the guys, whether it's Anzalone or Rankins, or I'm definitely concerned that without those extra reps, and it sounds like these guys are both playing out of their minds so far this preseason, but without those extra reps and getting, game ready, I definitely have concerns that, some nagging injury may find the Saints. So yeah, again, having that, having the ability to go out and grab a guy like that if he's still on the shelf, if that's what they feel, is going to still be there, then yeah, I'm sure they'll take advantage of it.
Nigel Bradham will be picked up way before Earl Thomas.
Well, the funny thing is,
man, when Jerry Jones said, when you say, man, you leave Seattle, and the lasting image of you leaving the field the last time as a Seahawk is you doing this to the head coach and the fans. Then you go to another contender, and you stay there a year, and they say, you got to go, brother. And then you say, man, I want to play for the Dallas Cowboys. And Jerry Jones said, no, bro, we good. That's got to say something about that's kind of a you problem.
And if there's anybody that loves the big name move, it's Jerry Jones. So
yes,
the fact that he would pass,
there's nobody that cannot be rehabilitated in Dallas.
Well, the funny thing is, here he was. If you remember his last game he played as a Raven, here he was talking all kinds of shit to, I forgot what team it was, about tackling Tennessee's running back, and here we go into the playoff game. He's got a clear shot. You see him do that little pirouette where he just kind of spins out of the way, like, no, I'm really not interested in going after you, bro.
That's a hard pass.
I'll just kind of guide you more towards the sideline. Hopefully you'll go out of bounds rather than turning it back up the field. So, I think that all plays into it. I mean, Thomas is one of those players. His career is over. He just doesn't know it yet.
Yeah, his career was over. Now, don't get me wrong. I loved Earl Thomas and the way that he played in Seattle. But in retrospect, his career ended about 2 years before he left Seattle.
When he got the injury, the first injury?
It was a leg or a neck or something like that.
I think it was a leg injury. Yeah. And it was, it's hard.
He was never the same after that.
You envision that you're going to be the next Ronnie Lott. You're going to be able to play as long as Ronnie Lott did and have the impact that a player like Ronnie Lott has had. And the first, I don't even remember how long his career has lasted, but the first 5 to 7 years when he was with the Legion of Boom, and you go to 2 Super Bowls and these things, you are compared to Ronnie Lott. And then at the end of the career, your final highlight is to see you. I don't want any part of Derrick Henry. I really, that's okay. I'm good. You're good, bro. I talked all kinds of shit, but when it comes time to play, somebody else.
There's a lot to be said for self-preservation, but self-preservation usually isn't preceded by shit talk either.
Yeah. Well, I
was going to say Ronnie Lott probably still wouldn't shy away from that tackle. I mean,
no.
Today.
No.
I mean, I'm old enough to have remembered when Earl Campbell played against the Oakland Raiders on Monday night, and Jack Tatum did a kamikaze move, launched himself into Campbell, hit him high, hit him up here in the chest, and It was like irresistible force meeting the immovable object. They bounced off each other, and Campbell stumbled into the end zone, and there's Tatum laying on the ground going, how the hell did he fall in the end zone? But, he didn't shy to hit him. But nobody wants to be the next Isaiah Robinson. The Rams linebacker that everyone's seen the highlight. Earl Campbell lowers the helmet right in the middle of the chest. You just see his whole body, because it's in slow motion, just cave in, and he falls down, and Campbell just runs his ass over. Nobody wants to be Isaiah Robinson.
Well, let me ask you guys this. Someone had asked me this earlier this week. It wasn't that many years ago that during the training camp process, you had the 3 levels of cuts. The first one you went from what was it, like 95 down to or 90 down to 75, 75 down to.
It was 2 cuts. You had your first cut after actually it would be this week, I believe. You would have your first cut after your 3rd preseason game, and then your final cut after the last preseason game. That's Sunday by 3:00. That would be the 2 cuts. And
which one do y'all think was the better system? Because now you only have that 1 cut at the end of preseason, which obviously we won't have this year, but.
You still have the same deadline, 3:00 on the Sunday before the first regular season game, or Saturday.
Yeah, I mean,
Saturday
you're not going to
before.
have the preseason as a factor in that.
No.
That's what I was talking about.
Okay.
Well, it certainly gives you more time to look at some extra players, the way it's set up right now. So,
yeah, I think I liked it with the one big cut, because you had a better chance of sneaking some of your players back onto the roster as practice squad players, because there were just so many names go out there at one time. I felt that what you saw when you had that first cut after the 3rd preseason game, the Saints would pick up somebody, and as typical of Saints fans, oh my God, this guy is a steal, we should keep him. And of course, he doesn't even last the next week. He's cut the following week. It's not really a fair shot for a guy who gets cut the 3rd week of preseason game, after the 3rd preseason game, has less than a week to try and make an impression on a coach before he gets cut again. Because it's, unless you're a veteran with skins on the wall, which are not going to cut you at that point, you really don't have much of a shot. So I do like the all cut at one time.
That's pretty much, I pretty much agree with all of that. Yeah.
But here's the thing, though, because you don't get to see these guys, you're not seeing them in games. I don't think there's going to be a whole heck of a lot of movement between the last cut and the first regular season game, and players being picked up for the 16, because they expanded to a 16-man practice squad. I don't think you're going to see a lot of movement from a lot of teams other than just re-signing their players they want to put on a practice squad, because you're not going to see these guys.
Right.
Yeah, and I'll go a step further. I think that by and large, and not just for the Saints, but probably league-wide, you're going to see not exactly, but pretty much you're going to see the final roster from last season is going to be the initial roster for this season. Because as we've talked about, you don't have those preseason games. You don't have those live reps to evaluate players. So all that you have to go on is what you've seen from them. And even intra-squad scrimmaging, you're not going to get the game feel that you would in a real preseason game.
Yeah, for sure. It all comes down to trust, and these coaches know what they've got in the guys from last season. So you take a guy like Bernie Fowler or Ty Montgomery or somebody like that if they can impress these coaches so much that they can work their way onto the 53-man roster, I think it's even more impressive than it would have been in years past, just because
exactly
they don't have the opportunity to look at you in real game situations. So
yeah, the only thing you're going to be doing if you make a move to try and jump and add somebody to your roster from somebody else's team, you're going back, especially an undrafted free agent, you're going back to your evaluation you had of this player coming out of college, and a guy that you may have wanted to grab, but he signed with somebody else as an undrafted free agent, or you were thinking about drafting him, which brings us to Tommy Stevens. Those are the kind of guys that I can see some kind of movement on, but I doubt it, because like you guys were saying, you're pretty much going to want to stick with your own players just because you don't know if you put this guy on your active roster, is he going to be able to cut it with my team? And you really don't know that. So I think that explains why the Saints did what they did in the draft, to draft foreseeing what a COVID training camp could possibly be like, taking a Tommy Stevens when they did, trading a future draft pick to get a Tommy Stevens, because you're not going to be able to see him anywhere else. You probably aren't going to be able to sign him onto your practice squad. So draft him now, and you can get a good look at him before you have to make a decision on him. If that rambling makes any sense.
It does. It does.
Yeah, for sure.
And I think that's also why you not really seeing the way it was going to play out, but seeing how it looked like this was going to develop at that stage, talking about the draft, why you didn't see the Saints be more aggressive. You didn't see them trying to grab all these picks, knowing you're not going to really have any reliable way to evaluate their talent. You took what you were pretty sure, you were convinced that you knew what they were bringing to the table, and you just went with that.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so John, you mentioned a couple guys, and that was where I was going to go to next. Fowler and Ty Montgomery. These are guys who have really, really good camps. Do you see these guys making the 53 roster?
On many, for many other teams, maybe not. But Fowler, it sounds like, is the darling of preseason this year, and it seems like Breeze has a good rapport. It seems like the other quarterbacks. It seems like every time I turn on the computer, I'm seeing another highlight. But Ty Montgomery, his versatility with Sean Payton, I think is just makes it he'll find somewhere to plug him in. So I would guess both of those guys make it.
I'm still on the fence about Fowler, because it feels so much like Emmanuel Butler and Andy Tanner and Anime Ojo. If you go back in time, I've got this feeling about him that he is the camp darling, and all the reporters talking about him. We're not in the room with the coaches when they're breaking down the film. It's almost too good to be true. We just found this guy. He came from Denver with Emmanuel Sanders. He's going to be a steal. No one else knew about him. And it just that's the feeling I get from him. But Ty Montgomery, I like the signing when it happened. I really like him with a Sean Payton kind of coach, that you just look at, Taysom Hill, and it gives you an idea what you can do with a Montgomery. He's going to be your fourth wide receiver. He's going to be a running back. They're going to do things with him like they did with Hill. He'll get some passes like Kamara does. It's good. You can just imagine all the things that Payton is drawing up to take advantage of this guy, and he's having a good camp to top it off. So your faith is justified.
Well, going right back to what we've been talking about this whole time, if you're having to pick between those two, you have a track record for a Ty Montgomery that you don't have with Fowler. You know what this guy has put on the wall in his career in Green Bay. So you have that to rely on, whereas you don't with Fowler.
Right.
Yeah. Go ahead, John.
No, I was just gonna say, and just hearing him talk or whatever, he just sounds so damn hungry. So, I mean, it's just like he's not that he's saying the right things, but he's just saying the things that you want to hear out of a running back that just doesn't give a damn, and he's gonna find a way. So, I think his head's in the right place. Obviously, he's got the skill, and he sounds like he's impressing people. So, I think the combination is gonna work well for him.
And the thing is too, for me. Okay, we're going to say 6 receivers, because I'm going to count Deontay Harris as a receiver. You're going to keep 6 receivers. So, you're looking at Thomas and Sanders, Traquan Smith. I know a lot of people are like, Traquan Smith. But
he's still here?
Yeah. But Traquan Smith, I mean, Sean Payton went out of his way to say that he has a role on this offense. So Ty Montgomery.
Yeah, anytime Breeze has to break a record, Traquan's always in the building.
That's true. That is true. So there's 4. Okay, so Harris makes 5. All right. So now you've got a 6 spot. So you've got Fowler competing with Emmanuel Butler, Will Jordan Humphreys, Marquez Callaway, Juan Jameson, who Callaway and Jameson, I can see them going to the practice squads. So, and then you got Taysom Hill, who is your third quarterback, but chances are he's going to be playing your third or fourth receiver a lot of times. So it's going to be an interesting dynamic how they do this.
Question, point of order, parliamentary procedure.
Okay. I've got Robert's rules around here somewhere still.
Okay, if you're going to keep, let me back this up. You got the 53-man roster, and you're the head coach. You've got it laid out numbers wise, who's staying and who's going. And if you keep Taysom Hill as your third quarterback, you cannot keep. He cannot count towards the 6 wide receivers, though, can he?
No, he's your third quarterback. He's your third quarterback. But that doesn't that means you don't have to have 6 receivers active on game day. So chances are one of your inactives on game day is going to be one of your receivers, and that'll be whoever that 5th guy is. Because I can see the Saints deactivating whoever the third running back is, because you can play Ty Montgomery as your third running back and wide receiver.
Yeah.
Deactivating
just the same way that you're using Taysom Hill as a backup quarterback, a gunner, blah 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 ad nauseum.
Right.
The more roles that you can play, the more valuable that you are at this level.
Absolutely. Yeah, for sure.
And you make it harder for a team to scheme. How do they scheme to stop the Saints offense? Here you come out in posse. All right. That's the 11-man. That's the 11 formation. That's 3 wide receivers, a tight end, single back. All right. So you got, Breeze and Kamara up there. You got Cook, you got Thomas, you got Sanders, and now you got Hill could be in the slot. Could be Montgomery in the slot. Could have Cook in the slot, have Hill lined up outside the numbers. You've got all these things you can do, and you're not quite sure what players are doing what in this formation, because Hill could play quarterback, Montgomery could play wide receiver, or he could play running back. So it really throws, Kamara could come out and line up as a wide receiver. It really throws off how you're going to defend this, because you come out with your nickel formation. Oh, shit, I got Cook matched up against my weakest cornerback, your nickel cornerback. I really should have a linebacker matched up against him. I'm going to put a linebacker out there. Oh, damn, they got Taysom Hill out there this time. He can outrun everybody on my defense, So, I mean, it really –
That's always been Peyton's trip to the bank, is how he takes advantage of matchups. Getting that matchup where he needs it to be, and at the same time having Breeze with the experience and the know-how to take advantage of those mismatches.
Well, you're running the same plays, but you've got different personnel in different positions. That's something I've always tried to stress to people when they talk about, we should get rid of this guy, we should bring this guy in. All right. You've got to realize that receivers run all the routes. You don't have a receiver that just plays the wide, for example. That's the outside the numbers guy. That's the guy you send deep. That's usually the kid who is fast. When you're playing street ball, you just go deep. You don't run routes. You just go deep. I might get it out to you. You just go deep. That's it. That doesn't happen in this offense, because it's too important that the players know all the different formations, because it makes it that much harder to defend. If you remember, they just showed the Super Bowl again. What was
Sunday.
it? Sunday. You know, Hokie Gajan says at one point when Breeze throws 9 passes to 9 different players,
that was the first drive of the second half.
No, that's the scoring drive. That's the Shockey touchdown drive because the 9th receiver is the 2-point conversion to Lance Moore. Yeah, but Hokie says, you know, what makes it so hard for the Colts to defend, they don't know who Breeze is going to go to because there's so many different receivers out there running patterns that you can't just say, well, he's just nothing but a decoy. They're never going to throw to him. You know, that guy's got stone hands. He'll never go to the – no, he can go to anybody, you know, so that's why you have to go after Breeze. And that brings me to the thing I want to talk to y'all about next is Minnesota figured rather than have to deal with them in the back end, the way we're going to stop the Saints is attack Breeze. And they were successful in it because the offensive line decided to take a nap that day and became swinging doors.
Oh, you said it way more prettier than I would have.
Yeah. Well,
it's 8:45. We're not in prime time anymore. I would not have been that
label off. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm trying to keep this still in the family hour, you know. But okay, so we bring in Cesar Ruiz to ostensibly play center, but it looks like all he's going to be doing is playing guard.
Yeah.
What do you guys think about the improvement in the offensive line?
Go ahead, John.
Start with you, John.
To me, that's maybe it's kind of dorky or whatever, but to me, that's going to be the most fascinating for the first couple of games, just to see how they work that offensive line and where they're lining people up and if they kind of move people around. But yeah, I'm really intrigued to see how, because I from what I understand, they're getting reps in multiple positions. You know, guys like McCoy and things. You know, getting reps in multiple positions. So to see what they finally settle in on and see how that plays out is one thing, and then the other thing is once they figure their front five and you know how these guys are going to gel. I mean, obviously that's if there's any one position that you want your guys to be a cohesive unit, that's the one. So.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's the one spot that I'm most intrigued to watch, you know, those first couple of weeks and see how they perform as a unit.
Well, we all know that this game is decided within 1 yard on each side of that line of scrimmage. It all starts and develops on the line of scrimmage. And especially when you have an offensive unit and a quarterback like Drew Brees, the offensive line is necessary doesn't even come close. And if you need a further indication of that, just as Alan said a while ago, just look back at that Minnesota playoff game last year when the offensive line wasn't as good as it's supposed to be and as good as we knew it could be. And they took a day off.
Yeah.
Insert expletive.
Yeah, we still got 12 minutes before we're out of the anyway. The progression of the offensive line unit is going, I wouldn't hesitate to say that the progression of the offensive line unit is going to determine the success of the offensive unit as a whole. And especially now, you need Ruiz to kind of step to the forefront and take up that banner because you don't know how long you're going to be without Pete. And I've never seen a coach that approached, and I could be wrong about this. Alan could probably correct me on this. I've never seen an offensive coach that took the approach that Peyton does with the cross training on the offensive line unit. I mean, usually you see coaches draft a center, he's going to play center. You see him draft a tackle, he's going to play tackle. But you see guys like Pete, who's played every position across the front except center. You draft a center in Ruiz, and you see him playing guard. You know. And it's only contributed to the success that this offense has put up over the past several years that Peyton's been in charge.
You know, before the season began or the training camp began, I said, "Listen, I think Ruiz plays center and McCoy goes to guard because I thought." And I used the analogy that, or the quote that Terry Bradshaw said about Mike Webster. I looked at Ruiz and I saw his big old backside. And I thought of Terry Bradshaw. I said, man, this is a good butt to take a snap under, from, because he's got a wide butt and you knew he could block. And I have to say, Ruiz is a wide body. I mean, he is a big man. And I said he is a natural center because I thought he was a perfect fire plug to put there right in the middle of that offensive line that could move and take the inside that people try to hit the A gap right there and help out both McCoy, who I thought was going to be guard, and Pete, and be in that spot. But because training camp is so limited in practices, you really don't have the time to work on the chemistry that you need to have between Breeze and Ruiz as center and quarterback. So I think they're going to leave McCoy there and put Ruiz at guard, which is not a bad problem to have because LaCharles Bentley, the great center from the Jim Haslett years in the Saints, Charles Bentley, I'm sorry, not Jim Haslett, Mike Ditka years. But he was a good center. He was a really great center. But he was a guy that played guard and then moved to center later on. I think that's what they do here to try and keep this offensive line as stable as they possibly can and really give us a strong right hand. Where we can run to the right a lot. We can roll Breeze out to the right a lot. We can do a lot of different things behind Ramczyk, who's all pro. Ruiz is a big, strong body who's having a good camp. And you've got McCoy. So, Armstead and Pete are always injury question marks. If you get that right side perfect and strong, you can still be heavily right-handed and win a lot of games and win playoff games. So I like this offensive line. I think this offensive line is going to surprise people on how well it gels early. That's just my gut feeling.
Yeah, and the good news is they don't really have to be great because Breeze is throwing slants to Michael Thomas all the time, so that doesn't take a whole lot of time to get out of his hand.
Are you a Falcons fan? Yeah.
If Gene is watching, he's standing up doing this right now.
But the funny thing is too, Breeze. I fought fans about this, and I guess Breeze has been listening to people. They think that Breeze's arm is dead. He can't throw 40 yards downfield, and he spent this entire offseason working on his deep ball, bringing the deep ball back, and now he has a receiver in Emmanuel Sanders. He can push the ball downfield. So, again, that offensive
line
the
hell out of me.
When Breeze, you watch 2011 games, what happens? That rush comes in from the outside. You had two strong guards. Breeze slides up in the pocket and launches it deep. And I think that's what you're going to see, that kind of stuff again. So
next thing you hear is Jim Henderson saying, he gone.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So anyway, all right. So that brings us to one other area that we've seen a lot or heard a lot in training camp. The secondary. Nick Underhill has been talking a lot about the secondary, saying that the secondary is surprisingly deeper than we thought. And I know a lot of people are laughing at that, but he's saying that what he has seen in practice, Marshawn Lattimore must have been listening to this show, reading Twitter, all this stuff. His goal is not just to play great when he's playing against a great receiver, but to be good all 16 weeks. Janoris Jenkins looks better than Eli Apple ever did. He looks like you've got two shutdown cornerbacks. We're hearing Marcus Williams, who, again, must be listening to this show, must be reading Twitter, learning how to tackle better, and Malcolm Jenkins is showing a lot of range and a lot of ability that he has a lot still left in the tank at the free safety position. So, John,
see what you can accomplish when you just keep your mouth shut?
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Come on, Sean. Behave yourself.
Yeah. John, what do you think of this secondary?
Yeah, again, from what I've seen, what I've heard, I mean, it sounds like all the pieces are coming together. I'm actually kind of surprised more in Marcus Williams. I'm surprised more in what I'm hearing about Marcus Williams than anything, and maybe that has a lot to do with Malcolm Jenkins being around and being able to coach him up a little on the field as opposed to just the guy standing off to the side of the field. But yeah, I mean, they're talking about, one of the best safeties in the NFL. He could be one of the best safeties in the NFL or whatever. So sounds like some, pretty high praise for Marcus Williams, who has, he's had his moments, but he's also had his moments. So,
well, with a player like Williams, you have to look at the big picture, in my opinion. You have to look at the big picture. When he came in the league and he became a starter for this team, there really was not that that Malcolm Jenkins experienced player to show him the ropes. I mean, he was just having to get out there and learn it and ball out on his own. And that's the one thing that I saw Marcus Williams, Marshawn Lattimore, and the other cornerback du jour. These guys were not playing as a cohesive unit. They were playing as individuals. And I mean, in some of the games that the Saints lost, you could see that in just painted out in bright fluorescent colors. But I think a player, the caliber, you have seen flashes of what Marcus Williams could be. Mm-hmm. He has had nobody outside of his defensive back coach to really step up and tell him, dude, look here, think. This is what you're looking for. This is what you're looking at. This is what you need. And that makes all the difference in the world. There is no teacher in the world like experience.
Yeah, he's been working off a lot of instincts and athletic ability as opposed to, just grasping, a little bit more of what he's looking at and getting into the system. To me,
I'm sorry to interrupt.
No, I'm done.
To me, that is the essence of being a professional football player. Because when you're in college, you can make your living off of your athletic ability and your instincts. When you get to the professional level, that doesn't work anymore because you're playing against one of the best guys in the world at what they do. Every down, every Sunday, every week, you're playing against the very best that this world has to offer. And you're not going to be able to make a living off of your athletic ability because you may be good. Having a flashback to the movie Miracle with Kurt Russell. Being good is never good enough. Everybody at this level is good.
Yeah.
You have to be well taught, you have to be well prepared, and you have to be ready to play. Well, every down, every week.
One of the things that Underhill had mentioned Sunday night when he's talking about Marcus Williams is the fact that Marcus is 23 years old. He's only 23 years old, and he's entering his fourth year in the league.
That's amazing.
So he was barely 20 when he came to the Saints. All right, and he hadn't even played safety at Utah that long before the Saints drafted him. So, yeah.
I think he played safety his senior year at Utah, or the last year that he played. I don't know if it was his senior year or what, but I think the last year he was at Utah was the only year that he played safety.
Right. So you're talking about a player who has just started to really learn the position. So like you said, he's going to make a lot of mistakes out there. There's a lot he has to learn. And having a Malcolm Jenkins who's been in the league as long as he has, showing him and talking to him, because Jenkins came in as a cornerback and was converted to safety. I mean, he played cornerback at Ohio State, and he was converted to a safety when he was drafted. So you see the raw talent there. It just needs to be molded and shaped better. And it just so happens that a couple of his mistakes turned out to be huge moments in the game, whether it's the Minneapolis Miracle or, the last year with the 49ers, the face mask and all that when he's trying to tackle.
Well, I got news for you, man. When he committed that face mask, that game was already over.
Well, there was a couple of mistakes in that game, and that was one of them.
I was going to say when he missed the tackle, the Minneapolis Miracle, when he missed that tackle, that game was over. I mean, even if he goes out of bounds, they're kicking that field goal anyway. So
right.
I do not fault a player for aggressive play. If you make a mistake and you're coming 100 miles an hour, I'll give you all the props in the world.
Well,
when you make a stupid mistake that you are a good enough and a prepared enough athlete not to make, but you do it anyway, that's when I have a problem with you.
Well, I still have the picture right in front of me here. All the people, and I said this back in 2017 when we did the breakdown after this game was over with, we're not even in a position to win that game if Marcus Williams doesn't make that beautiful interception.
Absolutely.
Right after we score the touchdown. So,
true.
It is the good and the bad. And hopefully we're starting to see more and more of the good. And we're going to see more and more plays where he makes the interceptions. I mean, he had 5 interceptions as a rookie. That's incredible. There was times from 2013 to 2017 that we were praying that we'd have one guy pick off, the whole defense get 5 interceptions. We weren't even getting that. We weren't getting that at all. So,
Are you wearing Breeze?
Yes, I'm wearing Breeze. I'm wearing the
first time in 4+ years that we both worn the same player.
I got the Color Rush on because I've been hanging out in 2 Facebook groups a lot because I hate the political shit that's going on. And I'm sick of hearing about masks, and I'm sick of hearing about COVID, and I'm sick of hearing about the hurricane. So I've been hanging out in Facebook groups. One's a comic book group, which I won't bore you people about, but another one is NFL 60 to 69 and NFL 70 to 79. And they posted the picture the other day. It's the Sports Illustrated picture, but it's another one that was taken during that week or that day. It's a picture of Gary Quazzo, Jim Taylor, and Tom Fears, the first Saints head coach. And these Color Rush jerseys look almost identical to the jersey that the Saints wore in 1967, the original 67 jerseys, which why I like these jerseys so much.
I've got an old Sports Illustrated lying around with, that original, the first time the Saints made the Sports Illustrated cover,
right?
Where they got the jerseys on like that, yeah.
Yeah, and if you look at it,
Quazzo.
He was one of them.
Gary Quazzo.
Quazzo and Kilmer.
No, Taylor.
Jim Taylor.
That's right.
Jim Taylor. Yeah. I agree, Calvin. Comic books all life. I've got. I think I still have. Maybe 7,000 comic books.
And down the rabbit hole we go.
Oh, it's these long boxes. Well, look, I got a complete collection of the Avengers from 1 to 400 and something.
Wow. I got
all the
3 of the
annual
movies.
Yeah, all the annual. Well, you see, if you sit next to me in the movie, I'm gonna tell you what they got wrong.
I would never go to a Marvel movie with Alan for all the money in the world.
Well, the Infinity Stones. First off, I got a whole story about the Infinity Stones, but that's something totally different. But yeah, I could tell you all the things the X-Men movies get wrong, all the things the Captain America movie gets wrong. Now, brother's a comic book geek too, so if I remember right, he and I went and saw Captain America: First Avenger together. I don't remember who I went and saw that with, but when we saw the film, there's a scene when they go to the World's Fair, and the camera is kind of panning over the whole fair. Okay, you see this test tube, and you see written over the top, "Synthetic Man, Dr. Phineas Horton." And there's this guy in a red suit and a test tube with his head down, blonde hair. That is the original Human Torch. Marvel Comics #1, debut of the gold. They call the 40s comics, 40s to the mid 50s, the golden age of comics. All right. That is what they call the golden age Human Torch. And my brother and I are like, "Hey man, look, the Human Torch, look what they did." And of course, he was in a test tube in the yes, my brother has, there he is, 16 boxes here. Yes, we saw it together. I knew I saw it with somebody who got it. I've got 11.
I feel like I should have subtitles across the bottom of my screen. I have no idea what you're talking about.
I know. But in the 1939 issue of the Human Torch, Marvel Comics #1, that is how the Human Torch debuts. He's in this.
Okay.
Yes.
Human Torch from the Fantastic Four?
No, different Human Torch.
Damn.
I was with you, Sean. I didn't.
Different Human Torch. Here's the thing about the Golden Age versus what they call the Silver Age, which is the 60s to the early 70s.
Does that got anything to do with the Silver Surfer?
Silver Surfer, yes, it does come into play.
All right. I got one right.
In the 40s, 30s and the 40s, you had superheroes in comic books. Around the end of World War II to the early 50s, so 46 to 51, superheroes kind of fall out of favor, and they all start disappearing in the comics and get replaced by Westerns. Everybody loved Westerns and horror. Those kind of comics came out. So these superheroes kind of went by the wayside. So when superheroes started to come back into fashion, rather than go back and go grab these old heroes from the past, they just reinvented them. And like, oh, here we go. It's like a new James Bond almost. Hey, look, we got a brand new Human Torch with the Fantastic Four, and don't worry about the guy from the past. This is the new Human Torch. DC did it to all their characters. New Green Lantern, new Flash, new Adam, new all these characters, same names from the characters from the 40s, but they kind of reintroduced them to new people, a new generation of fans. And that's how that's the distinguishing characteristics of these comic book characters. So anyway, I know we went down the rabbit hole, but trying to explain this is the kind of
like that's never happened on this show before.
Right. See, this you couldn't prepare for, John.
That's true.
But
my
anyway,
brother's big into the comics. I got no chance.
Well,
the only comic book that I ever really I'm not going to say religiously followed, but the only comic book that I ever really got into was Sergeant Rock.
That was a DC character, the World War II comic.
Yeah.
I know.
Well, see, I saw this on PBS one time, this documentary where they traced the timeline of comics from 1930s all the way to now. And it's interesting how the comic books played into the history, because during World War II, all the comics were about defeating the Germans and
all made by Jewish guys. Stan Lee was Jewish. The people who created Superman, Joe Siegel and Jerry Schuster, Jewish guys, because that's what they would do. They got paid by how many pages they could crank out. So the more book you were putting out, the more money you made. So that's exactly, so that naturally they're going to write stuff that soldiers want to read overseas. So they're writing war books, they're writing comic books with superheroes that beat up Nazis and things like that. So yeah, absolutely.
Now I want to see the episode of Under the Dome where the pictures surface where Alan is at the comic show or the comic convention and he's dressed up as his favorite hero, and I want to see those pictures surface.
I actually have
cosplay. That's what they call it, cosplay.
I will send you. I will send you a picture of me as the Golden Age Green Lantern.
I've seen it.
Yep.
Oh, that's awesome.
I have cosplayed before, and I also. Hey, man. All right. Yeah, that's my brother, Alan Scott, Green Lantern. That's true. Very true. Yeah, cosplay.
Okay. If I see a picture of Alan as Harley Quinn, I quit.
Here we go. My brother just brought it up. The Shadow. True story. I kid you not. All right, I'm at a comic book convention in 1982 or 84, somewhere around that time. I'd have been 84, 85, right around that time. Okay, so I'm 17 years old. I'm getting ready to go to college. And my dad had a black trench coat. And I still had a cape from Mardi Gras years and years ago when I was Zorro. Okay. We're losing Sean. He's going to miss this story. All right. So I've got the hat. It's a black Indiana Jones hat. I've got let's see. Yeah, my brother knows exactly which convention it is, 1984. All right, of course he does. So anyway.
Hey, Alan.
Yeah.
Kill the other link. I'm
trying.
For some reason okay.
It's like the Brady Bunch. You're like jumping.
Hey.
Yeah. Who's Alice? Who's Alice in the middle? So anyway.
I'm holding up everybody.
There you go. Anyway, so I got the costume on. I got the red scarf. I got the hat. I got the guns. I got the black trench coat with a little bit of a cape. 2 school teachers. They're about, I'm about 17 years old. And they've got to be in their 40s. They're telling me, they're coming up to me in my ear telling me, room 234. Be there at 9:00. We're gonna rock your world. You ever been in and I'm like, I'm like Jackie Gleason in Honeymoons. Hamada. I'm 17 years old. I don't know what the hell. I don't know if there's gonna be cops in there waiting for me, all that stuff. But you wear the shadow outfit. That gets you some chicks.
Yeah, you do that now, and you're going to be approached by Homeland Security forthwith.
Hey, man, badass outfit. I won't finish the story because y'all can just imagine what happened after that. But yeah,
I've been to a couple of comic conventions with my brother, and the bad cosplay is the stuff that I go for. Just seeing like the worst, the worst of the worst. I mean, it's so funny.
Well, I'm 15 now at one of my first conventions because I wasn't driving yet. I kid you not, a woman wore 3 shells. That was her costume. 3 strategically placed shells.
Nice.
And she decides.
Where did you place them?
Sean, really? And I'm yes, he is holding quite a bit of weight. I'm 15 years old, and this chick decides to eat a big old dill pickle in front of us.
That wasn't where I thought you were going with that, but go ahead.
Well, she ate it. In the days before Pornhub, that's how she ate this pickle. And I'm just like, a naked chick wearing 3 shells eating a pickle in front of me, and I'm just like, and I'm 15 years old, a rolling ball of hormones.
That's like being 16 and going seeing Fast Times at Ridgemont High.
Yeah, and all you can think about is
the carrot.
No, well, the carrot and also coming out the pool.
Well, yeah.
I felt like Judge Reinhold. Now, Sean, have you seen Fast Times at Ridgemont High? Do you know what the hell we're talking about?
I've seen that. I know what part you're talking about. I haven't seen the movie.
No, now wait a minute. Wait.
Go ahead.
Have you seen Fast Times at Ridgemont High, or have you seen like the TNT TBS version of Fast Times at Ridgemont High? Because it's 2 different animals.
No, I don't think I've seen the movie at all. I've seen that clip though. I've seen that clip of the girl coming out in like slow motion coming out of the.
You haven't seen the whole clip,
but I've not seen. Yeah, I haven't seen the movie.
Yeah,
enough.
Phoebe Cates. She actually in the real movie, as she comes out, because these were typical '80s films. When she comes out the pool, she pops the top, and you see them.
Oh,
and it ain't Budweiser.
Yeah, no, I didn't see that. I didn't see that.
Yeah, she pops the top, and that's because Brad is fantasizing. Judge Reinhold is fantasizing, and while he's going to town, and of course, in reality, in reality, she jumps in the pool, gets something in her eye, and she has to go run to the bathroom, and she busts him. So it's hilarious because it's just one of those things. Every guy in that era, if it didn't happen to you, it might have happened to you, kind of thing.
It could have happened to you on more than several occasions.
Yes, it's a classic. My brother's been putting up a lot of movie posters lately. On this date, 30 years ago, this movie came out. On this date, 29 years ago, this movie came out. So
I was looking at some of that the other day, and it's amazing. Because, I don't know if amazing is the right word, because like this movie came out 30 years ago, and I'm going, Jesus, I should go buy a wheelchair.
Well, you don't realize, and I was talking about this with my wife the other day. You don't realize how much time has passed. In 1963, that's of course the death of Kennedy and so forth. You fast forward 20 years, it's 1983. How different the world was from 63 to 83. 20 years now for us is 2000 to now. That doesn't seem like 20 years, does it?
No.
And how much has the world really changed in those 20 years? It doesn't feel as dramatic these 20 years as 63 to 83, or in the case of the TV show Happy Days, which was supposed to be in the 50s, and the show is going on in the 70s, say 55 to 72 or 73 when that show debuted. You watch Happy Days, the original, the first couple of seasons, even with Chuck, the missing brother, it seems like that's a totally different world that you can't even relate to.
John's got that calf at a Newgate look.
Yeah, I know. But again,
I know
we're old, man. We're old, man.
Yeah, but again, the Fonz and the whole bit. But again, it's the how much the world changes in a short period of time versus say 20 years today. Because when somebody says 20 years ago to me, in my head, I'm thinking 1989. I know that's not 20 years ago.
Right.
But that sounds like 20 years ago to me, and it's really only 2000.
Man, I can go on YouTube and pull up videos of the band that I was playing with in 91, 92. And I sit there and watch this, and I'm going, man, oh my God, that was a long time ago. And I watch some of the stuff that I do on stage, and I think, if I did that right now, I'd need a hip replacement. And,
Hakeem dropped the ball will be 20 years this New Year's Eve December 30th. That was 20 years ago. But I can still remember, like it was yesterday, that game and the feeling I got with that game. And that was 20 years ago. And last New Year's Eve, before I knew we would end up with this hell that's 2020, I said, you realize New Year's Eve of 2019, 20 years ago, was, oh my God, Y2K, where all the computers are going to crash. All this stuff was going to happen. And of course it didn't, and that was 20 years ago. It doesn't feel like it. It really doesn't. So
people said, we got to get canned goods. We got to get canned goods. And then at noon on January the 1st, they're all like, what in the hell?
I give you a deal on canned goods.
Exactly. And think about the computer I had, in 20 years ago, and you're looking at the only thing that's really changed is websites. You go to an old website and you think about how bad and how amateurish it looks compared to today, and that's the only thing that really stands out to me is a big difference between, you can tell a time difference, 20 years ago for that. But as far as football and movies and music, it doesn't feel like it's been that long ago.
Well, that's because the entertainment industry, by and large, it moves in a circle. Wrap your mind around this. Music now is what it was 20, 25, 30 years ago. And it goes through its changes, and it goes through its adaptations, and it goes through its upgrades and enhancements. But at its very core, what you're seeing now is what you saw in the late 60s, early 70s. Everybody's searching for a new sound. And you saw that in the 80s. Everything became the hair metal movement. And that absolutely exploded. And for about a decade there, everybody got a record deal. Everybody. And everything became cookie cutter. Everything sounded like everything else. And it initiated its own demise because nothing was original anymore until you heard Smells Like Teen Spirit, which ruined the world.
Oh, John, how old are you? I'm putting you on the spot here.
46.
46. Okay, so
Yeah.
you're not that far behind us, and that it's like another generation. Well,
you said that with conviction.
The way you said, I got you. But like
you're the same age as Casey.
Yeah, so we're gonna go. So bring it back to football because, of course, my brother's being a smart ass. Love the football talk. But
hey,
go back to football.
Are you not entertained?
When is your brother going to be on the show?
We have to make it a wrestling show. I don't know if what my brother's schedule is like, but I want to get him on the show at least.
That would be fantastic because then we'd get the other side of a lot of these stories you've been telling over the past few years.
I have to correct him on some stuff because he's in denial on some of these things. He really is in denial. Anyway,
hey, if he ever brings Danny on this show, Alan will be like me in most of our early shows because Alan will say, "Yep, okay, yeah, you're right, yeah,
yeah."
Because me and Danny, we'll get off on these wrestling tangents and we'll go down those rabbit holes, and Alan will sit there with this like calf at a Newgate look like you had a while ago when we were talking about the early 70s.
Right.
I kid you not, John. My brother has I don't know if he still does, but I used to see the videotape collection. He had taped all the WrestleManias, starting with WrestleMania 1. He's got them all on videotape. I don't know what the hell you can watch it on, but he's got them. So
I counted 2 days ago. I in my apartment I have a pantry. It's not for groceries. It's for my DVD collection. And there are 49 multi-disc sets from my wrestling collection.
Oh, jeez.
There he goes. Pro wrestling, movie, TV, sports talk show. Yeah, that's him.
We be entertainment, baby.
That's right. So bringing it back to Saints for a second here. They just talk about.
Oh, wait a minute. We're still Saints? Okay.
Yeah, we're still Saints. They said this will be Drew Brees' 20th year in the league because, you count 2001 as his year one. So this will be the 20th year in the league. He's been with the Saints for 14 years, 15 years. That's nearly an entire generation of people who have no memory of Jim Haslett, Aaron Brooks playing quarterback.
Billy Joe.
The Billy Joes and the
the Billy Joe Ditka is like that's like just me describing the John Meekum years to some people and JD Robertson. That's alien. I can't even imagine that
the 1900s. Yeah,
that's Tulane Stadium. The world was still
that's when That's when Ditka was still lucid.
Right. So, so that it doesn't feel like it just feels like, oh, Drew's back again. Hey, Drew, one more year with Drew. So I looked at Bobby Hebert's birthday was 3 days ago, 4 days ago, I think. I think it was Saturday or maybe Friday.
Saturday.
Hey, he turned 60. Okay. All right. I don't think of Bobby Hebert as being a 60-year-old player, I think about, oh my God, that's child abuse. Okay. So my nieces are chiming in. The videotapes of the WrestleMania still exist. And Genevieve says, my dad got me watching pro wrestling. That's child abuse.
That is not child abuse. That is good parenting. The only thing better than teaching your kids to appreciate professional wrestling is to teach them to appreciate 80s metal.
Well, my kids, you're like my youngest daughter. She's the closest into my music. My son is too, but my middle one, nah, she's not good. She's not with that. She doesn't.
She's a professional though.
She likes her music. She's not big into the old music. My youngest sends me when she was going to high school still. She sends me a text message. On my way to Ursulon, and it's a snapshot, a screenshot of AC/DC's Highway to Hell.
There we go. There we go.
Yep. So
if I had $1 for every time that I have played that song on stage, I would be much better paid than I am right now.
Genevieve wants to be a pro wrestler. She's going to be on Glow.
No, Glow is cheap imitation, man. Go to the damn it, I can't remember the name of it now. The WWE Resource Center.
Yeah, now we got him going. My grandma was obsessed with the Junkyard Dog. Yeah.
There you go, baby. JYD. Gonna bring the thump to your rump.
Thing I remember about the Junkyard Dog was they play Another One Bites the Dust when he come out all the time. Once that song
Sylvester Ritter, who was the Junkyard Dog, he was from somewhere down in South Mississippi. May he rest in peace. He, in a lot of ways, back then it was everything in professional wrestling was territorial. It wasn't the WWE, WWF, or WCW, AEW. It wasn't cut and dried the way that it is now. That was before Vince McMahon ruined the industry. But Sylvester Ritter changed the way that the game was played because he was just a small promotional wrestler that made an impact on the world. And he has never been fully appreciated for the impact that he made.
Well, my niece Genevieve says she wants to do wrestling in high school. I've got bad news for you. The wrestling you do at high school is not professional wrestling.
No, there are no turnbuckles. There are no chair shots.
Yeah.
You do a chair shot in high school wrestling, and that's going to be a real problem.
Yeah, there's no. It's not like that. Trust me, I found out. I wrestled in 8th grade, and it's not. I was like, hey, where are the lights? Where's the theme song? When do we come out with that? No, it doesn't work that way. And Junkyard Dog did wrestle in the yeah. There you go, my brother. Metal Health, Bang Your Head, My Entrance Music. I hear you. My mom was like, what the hell are you listening to when we played that song? Because that was I remember that album when we got that album.
I can tell you, my brother and I have an older brother too. That's towards Danny, not you.
Yeah,
I have a brother that's 2 years older than me, and we shared a bedroom growing up. And I was, 12 or 13. And we had the lights out, but we always slept with the radio on. And we listened to rock and roll to rebel against authority, obviously. And we're laying there, and all the lights are out. And I'm going to let you guys look it up on YouTube or Google or whatever your choice is. But we were laying there, and I was trying to go to sleep, and the original song, Black Sabbath, came on. I didn't sleep at all that night. That song absolutely scared the ever-loving hell out of me. My life has never been the same since.
The most, I guess, the song that made, well, the first song I ever heard cranked up in a car stereo was, Back in Black by AC/DC. My best friend's older brother had a 72 Cutlass, and he had the system. And I can still hear the hiss of the tape. And I'd never heard, because, cars back then, you had one speaker in the dash, and that was it. And it was cheap, generic stuff. This was a full stereo system, and I can still remember hearing the hiss of the cassette tape. And then I'm like, holy crap, this is loud. And he's got all the windows down, and we're going down the street, and you can just hear, we're giving the entire neighborhood a concert, and that was the first time I heard something really loud. But the first, I guess, hard rock sound I can ever remember hearing as a kid was the beginning of Smoke on the Water by Deep Purple. I mean, you hear that guitar riff, that you knew that was something, I mean, everybody knows that intro now, but that thing, I was like, that's pretty badass. Now, of course, Led Zeppelin was around when I was a kid and everything else too, but that's the one I can remember me standing up going, I like that.
My mom, I was 12, maybe 13 years old. My mom took me to Walmart, and I asked her if she'd buy me this cassette. That's how old I am. And the cassette was Back in Black. And we get in the van to go home and got a cassette player in there. And she said, well, what did I get for you? You want to put it in and then let me hear it? I said, sure. And
Hell's Bells? Hell's Bells?
No, You Shook Me All Night Long.
Oh.
I put it in, and she heard the line. She told me to come, but I was already there. My mom blushed, and I shrank. I was like, oh my God.
I have a friend, we talk a lot about music, and you may have seen me tagged in some of his posts. He and I went to college together, and we're both into music and stuff, and he talked about, songs. And I can remember the controversy over Manfred Mann's Blinded by the Light, because there's a line in there where it's wrapped up like a deuce, but the way he sings it, it sounds like he says wrapped up like a douche. And I mean, they used to get more complaints at the radio station. Disc jockeys would talk about this. People sending letters to the editor in the newspaper. This is filth on the radio. We can't listen to this. All this stuff. About that same time, ZZ Top releases a song called Pearl Necklace. And nobody complained about that. Apparently, the old ladies liked ZZ Top. So, I mean, it just depends on how blatant you're going to be in your lyrics, whether or not people get into it. There's another song. This is what brought this up. There's a sweet, sickeningly. You could go into diabetic coma listening to this song, but it's a song called "Afternoon Delight" by the Starlight Vocal Band. Are you familiar with the song, John?
No,
I know Sean is. Okay. It is dripping with saccharin. It is these two women singing together in this little high pitch harmonizing thing, and this guy comes in and sings a song, and it's like rubbing sticks and stones together. It's this whole little
making sparks ignite.
Yeah, for a little
afternoon delight.
That's it. And they go boo, afternoon delight. They do this whole thing. It's all about a nooner. It's all about you going off with a woman and getting a nooner. That's what the song is about. And people are singing this song. Okay. And no one said anything, because if you just wrap it up in this cheesy ball of saccharin, hey, it's fine. No one knows what you're really talking about. Meanwhile, one other song, I'll throw this out here. One other song, Donna Summer, Love to Love You Baby. Are you familiar with this one, John?
What is it called? I mean, I know who Donna Summer is.
Love to Love You Baby.
I might know it if I heard it.
You would know it if you heard it. You don't smoke now. Are you okay, Sean?
Yeah, go.
I'm some Donna Summer flashbacks.
Yeah.
This song,
Studio 54.
You need a cigarette after you finish listening to the song.
True story.
Donna Summer moans through this entire song while she sings the verse, Love to Love You Baby. And you're like, oh my God. I think this is porn. Are we listening to porn on this radio station? And yeah,
musicians refer to this as absolute inspiration. Go ahead.
But yeah, I mean, so, you know, when you hear people bitch and complain about the lyrics in the songs today, like Cardi B and all these other people, you know, and they're like, oh, but in the old days, no. The old days, we were a little more
when the
subtle.
Doors,
yeah,
when the Doors the Doors recorded, come on, and love me, baby.
Touch me.
When Jim, touch me. When Jim Morrison recorded that song, he was on the receiving end of what time is it?
Yeah, it's one. We're 30 minutes over because we've gotten into music now. So
yeah, well, that rabbit hole never ends.
No.
Jim Morrison was receiving
attention.
Yeah. Yeah.
Potter was that attention.
Let's just refer to it as oral gratification.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, you know, the Doors were forbidden to sing a certain song. And I think it was Touch Me Baby. I don't remember the name of the song, but it was on the old Ed Sullivan show.
No, it was Light My Fire.
Light My Fire? Was it Light My Fire?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that was a song he was forbidden to sing on
and
the
he did it anyway.
He did it anyway. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Jim Morrison was on stage in Miami, and they told him before he ever went on stage that they had decency laws and you can't do this, you can't do this, you can't do this, or we will stop the show. And everything that they lined out for him, he systematically did in like the first 15 seconds of the song.
Yep.
And they handcuffed him on stage and drug him off the stage and took him to jail.
Yeah.
Which is one experience that he and I share. And I'm not going to go into that any further at this point.
That and chicken wire on the stage, people throwing beer bottles, you know.
Yeah, I've been to that club too.
That don't sound like no Hank Williams.
Yeah. You know how hard it is to break a Jack Daniels bottle on chicken wire?
I don't want to even know that.
I didn't either, but you talk about literally a crash course.
Yeah. You've seen the Blues Brothers, haven't you, John?
I know who the Blues Brothers are from like Saturday Night Live.
Oh my God! Okay, John, you've got to come down to New Orleans. My wife.
Oh man,
my wife, we were dating. There were certain movies she had never seen before. The Blues Brothers was one. I think she saw Animal House. I don't remember if she saw Animal House or not. She didn't see Airplane. So those are movies I have on DVD. They're like, okay, you've got to watch these films. You have to see these things. So, you know, yeah, I've got all these movies. You've got to watch these films because the cultural references in those films are just unbelievable. You know, Airplane.
People that didn't grow up from the let's say 1970 to 1991. Jesus, how do they live?
Well, it's just these cult classics that, you know, you people make references to those films, and these films are 40 years old now. Blazing Saddles, Young Frankenstein, I mean, people still make references to those films. My brother brought up one more thing real quick, and then we'll kind of wrap the show up after that because I know it's 10:30 your time over there.
Yeah,
John.
I'm on like 6% too. So
okay, all right. So
on my phone.
Sorry about this. Then
no, it's fine. I'm having fun.
talking about 8-tracks and stuff and the difference the technology makes. Have you ever listened to an 8?
John, 8-tracks were something that we used to have that had like.
Yeah, the big giant cassette thing.
It had 4 channels on it. It was one tape that ran through, and then you had music within 4 channels on this thing. It's kind of complicated to explain. But
and if there was a song by this artist that was on your 8-track, you can be if it was one that you really liked, you can be guaranteed that it would start on one track and have to be continued on to the next track.
Yes, and that was nothing.
So there was a break in the middle.
There was nothing more frustrating because, like, imagine jamming to say Back in Black, and it's on track 1, and you have to change over to track 2 or channel 2. You would get the song. They'd be screaming. Brian Johnson would be screaming the lyrics, and then it kind of fades out, and then you hear it. Chunk, switch to the next channel and fade back in about where it left off. So it sucked. If you had a long live album, you listen to a live album on 8-track, it never failed. It was always going to do that kind of stuff. So 8-tracks were replaced by cassettes. But yeah, that's the thing about 8-tracks. That's why the technology didn't stick around very long. John, we of course went in the rabbit hole. You're at 6%. Real quick, find you on social media and what other things you're working on right now.
As far as where to find me, let's see if I could do this right the first. Nope, I can't. You know what? I laugh at you guys all the time because you don't get it right, but it's down.
I know it's the opposite of what you would think. Yeah. You got to go on this side to get it here. Yeah, there it is.
Yeah, and that's my handle on Twitter or Instagram. I'm part of Canal Street Chronicles, so at Saints CSC is their handle. They got a ton of great writers over there, so always something good popping up on their page. As far as what I'm working on, Thursday I've got a Life of a Saint Jari Evans coming out. And I've got a couple of guys, Jermon Bushrod I've been talking to, Roman Harper. There's a couple other guys that I've started to talk to, but those are probably the next 2 that are going to follow after that.
Well, I just
I'm sorry to interrupt.
Okay.
Any of you guys that have never read any of the Life of the Saint articles, if you're a Saints fan, you owe it to yourself to check this out. John is an absolutely brilliant writer when it comes to this. He has taken this and absolutely ran with it, and he has done a magnificent job.
Well, I just got this text right before we went on the show. Marcus Colston is going to be an adjunct professor at UNO this year.
Yeah, so, I saw that.
Yeah, so that is something that'd be interesting. Have you done Marcus Colston?
Yeah, I've done one on Colston. Yeah,
that would be interesting to kind of revisit that one and bring it up to date with some of the things he's going to be doing at UNO, because I know he had a small business too. He was a consultant for some technology companies. So
he's going also in a lot of different directions. Yeah.
He's also one of the owners of the New Jersey Soul.
Philadelphia
Soul. I'm sorry.
But that's isn't that the AFL? The AFL's kind of gone bankrupt.
Yeah, the Arena Football League.
Okay.
At one time, I mean, there's worse people in the world to align yourself with.
No,
Don Bon Jovi.
No, not at all. I mean, it's good stuff. So, all right, John.
Jari Evans too.
And Jari Evans as well. Absolutely. Yeah. Well, John, I'm looking forward to seeing the Jari Evans piece when it comes out, and Roman Harper when you get to that one next. Thank you for being on the show tonight.
I really appreciate the time.
We kept you up past your bedtime, but that's what happens on this show. We kind of go way over time, so
it's worth it.
Thanks for joining us.
I told you the other day. Right now things are crazy. They're not conforming to logic. We just kind of shoot from the hip, and we thank you so much for being a part of our show tonight, man. I always enjoy having you on here.
Yeah, it's always a blast. Always a blast to get to talk to you guys.
New Orleans Syndicate, baby.
That's right. That's right.
All right. Thank you, John.
All right. Keep doing your thing, guys.
All right, man. Thank you.
Have a good night.
Thanks, John.
You
Take
too.
care.
Okay, Sean. Well, I don't know if you have any final thoughts.
Should we keep going?
I don't know. I'm watching some of the viewers kind of drop down here. We're getting ready to go home.
Yeah.
You know, training camp, the Saints were off today. There's no preseason game, so I'm really relying on Nick Underhill for a lot of stuff right now as far as news. I kind of yesterday or a day before yesterday with the storm coming was the first time I really read or watched the local news in about a month and a half. And I definitely don't watch the national news. And a good reason why I don't watch the national news is my wife and I were talking about this yesterday. Literally, I'm watching the 5 o'clock local news, and the weatherman is the last person. And he's talking about, okay, Marco's dissipating, the wind shear's turning us apart. We don't know what's going to happen with Laura yet. We have to see what happens when it gets into the Gulf. The Gulf waters are good for further development, but we're not sure where the track's going to go. We got this, he went through all the scenarios, but he left off with a very positive statement. I kid you not, CBS Evening News, the lead story, death stalks the Gulf Coast. I'm like, oh my God, look at this. And they show this stock footage of people, a long line of cars evacuating, or on the interstate evacuating somewhere. So I'm just like, what the hell? This is why I don't watch the news.
If it bleeds, it leads.
Here we go. Don Henley, dirty laundry,
That's it.
But
it's not about uplifting and positivity. It's about creating fear, creating dissension, and unfortunately, that's just the world that we live in right now.
It is.
And to everybody that follows our show, and who you guys are. We talk about the Saints, obviously, but we talk about music. We talk about comic books. We talk about movies. We talk about everything. Mm-hmm. We talk about stuff that entertains us. We talk about stuff that entertains you. We talk about stuff that makes you guys laugh, makes you guys, it conjures up memories, but it's not stuff that makes our viewers shudder and say, "Oh my God, what is this?" That's if you guys want that, you can follow your local network news program. That's not what you're ever going to get from us. We love to laugh with you. We love to have a great time with you. I mean, we're an hour and 45 minutes in right now, and I'm having the time of my life entertaining you guys. I can't think of anywhere that I'd rather be right now than hanging with you guys and being a part of this.
Exactly. I lived through Katrina. Most of y'all have all lived through Katrina, and we know what that was like. And this is not to make light of any storm, because even a Category 1, even a tropical storm, you get flooded, you lose everything. It doesn't matter how strong the storm was. It destroys your life. I can't live my life with that kind of negativity, that kind of stress. I just can't. It's not how I'm wired. And this is why I brought up about Drew Brees being with the Saints for as long as he has been. It's been something we've gotten to enjoy Saints football because of this. Even in a loss, we can still find positive things to talk about in a loss. 30 years ago, near the end of the Jim Moore era, and the Mike Ditka era, or the end of the Bum Phillips era, you didn't get that kind of positivity. It was
No.
horrible. It was
There was absolutely nothing to be optimistic about.
the picture I've got of the dome right now, I changed the background photo to a more recent one. There's 68,000 people in that stadium having a good time. In the era of the late 70s, even in the early 80s and stuff, it's 40, 50,000 people in the dome. The game was blacked out. It's mostly angry people cheering paper airplanes landing on the field. It's just it's thank you, Chad. And so why would you want to live through that again? Why would you want to harp on that stuff? The misery of it. I'd rather focus on the good stuff, and that's how I am about life in general. I can't, COVID. I can't focus on what I can't do. I like to focus on what I can do. Okay, I can't go to a bar, but you know what? I can talk with a friend of mine via the internet. I can talk with a friend of mine, FaceTiming on the phone, whatever. And we can laugh and, send old pictures to each other like, oh, my God, can you believe this picture and stuff? I remember what happened that day when we took that picture. So, that's how you have to look at stuff. And that's how you have to look at life. I can't live a life where every day it's like, today's the worst day ever. I can't believe what today's been like. And it's like, okay, Eeyore, I can't, and I'm not talking, and I don't mean to be just stupid, like, oh, no, what the hell? You can't. I'm not talking that kind of optimism. I'm just talking about if there's bad things going on, look at the positives. Okay, if you're stuck at home because you can't go anywhere, what are the things you can do? What are the things you get enjoyment out of doing? Find something to do around the house that you really enjoy doing. For me, it's like the satisfaction of getting something done. So that's what I enjoy doing. Yeah, it's a pain in the ass. I'm going to go out there and do yard work in 90-degree temperatures with, 70 to 80% humidity. That sounds like a load of fun. But you know what? I go out there and I do it. I look back and I go, man, this yard looks great. I did a good job. Or I waxed a car, something I can go back and look and go, you know what? That looks really good. I did, I accomplished something, and that's just how I am.
Well, I can tell you, not to get too real, but I can tell you from personal experience that living your life for whatever time frame you're talking about, living your life sitting there thinking, this may be the last day that I have, that sucks.
Absolutely.
That's no way to live. That's why at an early point during my experience, I said, you know what? I'm going to worry when it's time to worry. But until then, I'm going to live every day like it was my last. And I'm not going to sit here and worry about things that I can't change. I'm going to do everything that I need to do. I'm going to do everything that I'm supposed to do. And I'm going to lay my head down at night and hope I get the opportunity to do it again tomorrow.
Well, and that's why I brought up where I've been going on Facebook instead of the normal groups to talk about stuff, because of the things that are on social media is so damn depressing. So I go into nostalgia groups, like old football groups. I go in a comic book group and stuff, and I laugh and we make jokes about stuff, and we talk about stuff that we get the kind of nitty gritty detail, and some of the stuff where people are like, okay, these people have no life whatsoever, but it's fun because someone else gets it, and you can talk about that. And for, I don't know, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, however long you're in these things, COVID doesn't exist anymore. You're back into the summer of 1977, where I read my first comic book, and that's where I started my collection. And I got to see Star Wars in the theater.
Yeah.
And I'm 10 years old again. And, all these things, and I'm having a good time. And that's
and see, to me, that's what this show is.
Right.
I love talking about the Saints and dealing with the Saints and following the Saints because I feel like that I have something to add to that that narrative and that timeline. But at the same time, I mean, we get on this show, and this is going to sound completely asinine, but thank God for things being the way that they are, because I get on this show, and no matter how bad the week has been, no matter what's going on, I get on here, I laugh my ass off because we have such a fantastic time, and we get to interact with people that look at things the same way as we do, and get to experience our enjoyment in what we do.
Right.
And I think that that's why that 4+ years later, we're still doing what we do.
I tell these stories. I tell all these stories about when I was a kid, and I tell jokes and things like that, mainly because they are funny. That's why I go into these tangents, because I got a funny story to tell you, regardless of what it is. I've got a story. And I'm only scratching the surface. I have a few 100,000 more stories that
I still want to get Danny on here.
Oh, we can get him on there. We can get him on here.
We really need to get Danny on here for equal time.
Absolutely, because I haven't even talked about my best friend John yet. If I get my best friend John stories, that is a whole nother universe of stories. I can tell you about Laundry Day for one. That's one interesting story. You have to remind me of John and Laundry Day, and I'll tell you two stories about that one. So anyway, we went almost 2 hours, 1 hour and 51 minutes. Thank you.
We haven't done 2 hours since
the draft shows. The draft show we did 2 years ago, and the preview show where we had 2 years ago when we had Gene, Josh from Atlanta, and
one of the guys from the C3.
Yeah, one of the guys from C3. And we did the preview of the division. So it's been a while. So yeah,
we're gonna have to do another big show sometime.
Absolutely.
Where we have like reps from each of the divisional opponents, and
absolutely. We need to get Mr. Harrison, David Harrison, back on again. He's Tampa.
Yes.
Yeah, yes. On again. So anyway, thank you guys for sticking with us all this time. I appreciate it. Can I tell a funny story about your dad? I can tell a dozen funny stories about your dad, Genevieve. I promise. Tomorrow, not tomorrow. Next Tuesday, I will tell a funny story about your dad. I'm going to tell the story about the hole in the wall, that he punched a hole in the wall. I will tell that story.
I don't believe Danny would be that violent, really.
Oh, yeah, he punched a hole in the wall, and it was my fault. And we discover this after I go to college, and my dad and mom decided my brother and I were going to switch rooms. I was in the bigger room because I was older and I had first dibs. I called for the bigger room. I had that room, and my brother had the smaller room. So they were going to switch rooms, and my brother was going to have my old room, and they were going to turn my brother's room into a guest room / my room. Okay, because I was living up in college, and I was only coming home, as my dad liked to say back then, this is not a hotel. I was only coming in to visit my parents, but really going out every night to go see my friends. So,
God forbid you be an adult.
Yes. Well, I was going out all the time. So anyway, remind me next week to tell a story about my brother punching a hole in the wall, because that was a funny story, that when my dad discovered the hole in the wall. Anyway.
I can tell this is going to be fun.
Oh, yeah. He right through the sheetrock, too. I mean, he was so mad at me, he punched a hole in the sheetrock. So, yeah. And Genevieve, that's the white room. At Granny and Papa's house, that's the white room that you guys usually stay
in. The white room.
Yeah. I will show you that the wall still has the mark where it had to be filled in because he punched a hole in it. And I'll point it out to you next time y'all come in town. Anyway, thank you guys. Thank you guys. Oh yeah, it's a classic. I gotta tell this whole story. This whole story is great. It really is. So anyway, thank you guys for sticking with us. We almost hit 2 hours because of that little sidetrack. And we'll see you next time Under the Dome. Good night, everybody.